Right there inside your chest is probably the most amazing high-performance engine ever created. It runs 24/7 for decades, it never needs a pit stop, and it powers literally every single moment of your life. So today, we're going to pop the hood and take a look at the human heart.
All right, let's just start with a number that is, well, it's pretty staggering. Every single day, your heart beats about 100,000 times. Think about that, 100,000 cycles pumping life through your entire body without ever taking a break. And what's really incredible is the efficiency that's packed into such a small space. This whole powerhouse, the thing responsible for moving gallons and gallons of blood every day, is no bigger than your own fist. It's truly a marvel of biological engineering. So, how does this engine actually work? Well, it all comes down to its core mechanics. It's this brilliant system of chambers and high-pressure valves, all designed to move its precious cargo, your blood, with perfect timing and absolute precision. You see, this engine doesn't just power one system, it actually powers two at the same time. On one side, you've got the pulmonary circuit. That's kind of the short trip to the lungs to pick up oxygen. And on the other side, you've got the systemic circuit, which is the long-haul journey to deliver all that oxygen to every other part of your body. So let's follow the fuel, right? It's a four-chamber journey. Used, deoxygenated blood comes into the right side of the heart. From there, it gets sent to the lungs for a refill. Then, it comes back to the left side, all full of fresh oxygen, ready to be pumped out by the real powerhouse, the left ventricle, to the rest of the body. But with all that pressure, what stops the blood from flowing the wrong way? Well, that's the job of the heart's valves. You can think of them as these perfect one-way doors. Their entire purpose is to make sure blood keeps moving forward, guaranteeing there are no backward leaks in the system. And this is the rhythm of the engine. The whole pumping action, what we call the cardiac cycle, is this beautifully choreographed sequence of contraction and relaxation. And get this, it all happens in less than a second. It's just this elegant, repeating mechanical dance. And every single one of those cycles is broken down into two key phases. You've got systole, that's the power stroke, the squeeze that forces blood out, and then you have diastole, that's the intake stroke, the relaxation part where the chambers refill, getting ready for that next powerful pump. You ever wonder what that classic lub-dub of a heartbeat actually is? It's not the muscle itself. No, it's the sound of those high-pressure valve doors snapping shut with perfect timing. The first sound, the lub, is one set of valves closing. The second, the dub, is another set. It's literally the sound of precision engineering. Okay, so the heart is a muscle that pumps fuel all over the body. But how does this tireless muscle get its own fuel? I mean, it has to. It requires its own dedicated, high-priority fuel delivery system. And that's where the coronary arteries come in. It's funny, right? The heart's chambers are full of blood, but the muscle itself is too thick to get any nourishment from it. So, right at the exit of the main pipeline, the aorta, these special little fuel lines branch off to feed the heart muscle directly. The system's basically split into two main fuel lines. You have the right coronary artery, or RCA, which takes care of the right side of the heart. But then there's the left main coronary artery, the LMCA. It's responsible for the much larger, much more powerful left side, the side that does the heavy lifting. That's why a blockage there is so dangerous. Some doctors even call it the widowmaker. So we've got the mechanics and we've got the fuel, but what tells the engine to turn over 100,000 times a day? For that, you need an ignition system, a perfectly timed electrical spark. And that system is called the cardiac conduction system. It's essentially the heart's own built-in wiring, its own pacemaker. It's this incredible network of specialized cells that generate and send out an electrical impulse that tells the muscle exactly when to contract. And the path of that spark is incredibly precise. It all starts at the SA node, the heart's master pacemaker. That fires and the signal zips across the top chambers, telling them to contract. Then, it hits the AV node, which acts like a smart gatekeeper. It actually pauses the signal for just a fraction of a second. Why? Well, that delay is absolutely critical. It gives the lower chambers, the ventricles, time to fill completely with blood. Then, the gate opens, the signal flies down these specialized fibers, and boom, the ventricles contract, sending blood to the entire body. Now, for all its brilliant design, this high-performance engine, well, it isn't invincible. So what happens when there's a system failure? What happens when this perfectly engineered machine starts to break down? So often, the trouble begins with the parts that are under the most stress. In our engine, that means the mechanical parts, those valves, and the absolutely critical fuel lines, the coronary arteries. One common valve failure is something called stenosis. This is when the valve leaflets get thick or stiff and they just can't open all the way. It's kind of like a door that's rusted on its hinges. It restricts the flow, and it forces the engine to work much harder to push blood through that tiny opening. And the opposite problem is called regurgitation. In this case, the valve doesn't seal properly when it closes, so blood actually leaks backward. This completely messes up the whole one-way flow, making the pump inefficient and forcing it to repump blood it's already moved once. And then, of course, there's the most common problem of all: clogged fuel lines. This is coronary artery disease. Plaque, this fatty substance, builds up inside those vital coronary arteries, narrowing them down and slowly starving the heart muscle of the oxygen it so desperately needs to keep working.
And that's why it is so important to recognize the warning signs that the engine is in serious trouble. A complete blockage? Well, that causes a heart attack. And while that classic chest pain or angina is a huge symptom, it's not the only one. You need to be aware of things like shortness of breath or pain that travels up into your jaw, neck, or back, even feeling weak or lightheaded or breaking out in a cold sweat. Recognizing these signs is absolutely critical. Which brings us to our final and really the most important thought. This incredible engine is yours. It runs nonstop, day and night, from the moment you are born. So the question isn't whether it's a good engine. It's the best there is. The real question is, how are you maintaining it?